So we're talking about something that I am really terrible at. I am really bad at self-care. It has to be like scheduled, and something that I'm forced into doing usually, except for this one thing that I really like doing with my kids. So when I saw your reel about doing things with kids, I was like, yeah, that's been like how we figured, because like when are our children leaving us right now? Like, I mean,
Right.
so we have to adapt and overcome, right? So when I saw your reel, I was like, okay, this is pretty genius. So why don't you talk us through your different ideas, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Okay, let me turn up my volume real quick. Um, yeah, so I had just a few ideas of things that would hopefully make it a little bit easier to sneak in self-care while you're watching your kids and while a lot of parents are having kids home all day, every day, throughout the past almost year now that it's been. And so, um, let's see, a few of those ideas. One that I really love is just getting outside,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is a little more difficult in the winter when it's cold. But even if
Right.
you can bundle up and go outside for a little bit, just getting that sunshine is helpful. I think a lot of people just find peace in nature, and that can be like a very mindful thing to do. And I also love that because your kids can play, but they're not getting your house, they're not destroying things, they're not dumping
Oh.
toys everywhere. And so it's kind of a way to keep your house clean, but still entertain your kids and get some self care for yourself in. Um, Another thing that I really love is going for walks with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's a little easier depending on where you live and how the weather is. But this is something that's great because you can kind of make it a part of your routine. So you can go, every day after dinner or, whenever it fits in your schedule. And so then that's something that you're getting your exercise in, you're moving your body, which is so good. That's something that I started doing in quarantine or whatever you want to call it with my husband is going for walks as
Mm-hmm.
much as possible. And I noticed that that just like changed my emotional state more than I thought that it would. And so
Yeah.
that's a great one that you can do. And take your kids with you. They can ride their scooter or bike or whatever, or if they're little, you can push them in a stroller. And that's a really good way to like, connect with them, but also take care of yourself. Um, so I love that one. A
Yeah.
really easy one is blowing bubbles. And so I worked at a place with kids with autism and other kind of behavioral things. And um, one of my favorite things to do with them was blowing bubbles because it
Mm-hmm.
gave me a chance to sit down. Most kids, especially little kids, love bubbles and they'll be entertained with them for a long time. And so you're sitting there and you're getting to take all these deep breaths, and I don't know, it's kind of fun to play with your kids and just enjoy that. And so blowing bubbles is a
Kind of
great
see the
one.
wonder on their face with
Yeah,
bubbles. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And then also, once they're old enough to do it themselves, then it's also a really good regulating activity for them too. So everyone can be blowing bubbles and getting their deep breaths in all at the same time. Um, and then coloring with your kids, that's a
Yeah.
great one.
Yeah.
Um, you can color, have your nice, like, fancy adult coloring book, and then they can color whatever they're coloring, or, they can be doing a craft and you can just sit and color with them. Um, and I think that's something that sometimes a lot of kids will sit down and they'll do that for a good period of time. So they'll be entertained and it'll give you hopefully like at least a 20-minute kind of little break to do that with them. And then they're in one place, they're sitting at the table, they're not running around, and it's hopefully it will be stress relieving for you.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, and then also doing kind of like a little spa day or something, if that's something that you're into.
Yeah.
That would be really fun with little girls, but I think little boys, there's things that you could do with them too that they
I can attest
probably,
that little boys like it also.
yeah. So, that's what a lot of people, when they think of self care, it's like getting your nails done and that kind of thing, which it is about that, but it's really about like taking care of your emotions and doing things to help you slow down. Um, and it's also loving yourself well. And so that's something that's really great that you can be teaching your kids. Like, it's a good thing to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to take time out of your day to
Right.
do things that you like or that make you feel good. So that I think would be a really fun activity to do every once in a while, or do, schedule that in. So maybe Friday nights you do paint your fingernail night, or whatever it is. So that way it's in your schedule, because a lot of times, like you said, it's hard to fit in self-care if it's not on the calendar. When you have kids, they're
Right.
home all the time, you've got so many responsibilities, it's hard to think about yourself, because you're just busy taking care of them and making sure they have what they need. But at the end of the day, like, we're better as parents when we're able to care for ourselves and take time for ourselves and breathe. And this has been such a stressful, weird, crazy year with lots of emotions for everybody. And so even though I think it's harder in a lot of ways now to practice self-care, it's also like more important than ever. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because there's no, my kid's going to school for X amount of hours and I'm going to just take a deep breath. Or even if you're still working, I'm working, and that's like, these things are separate, right? It's all like one big melting pot right now. So absolutely, I agree. Our big thing that we found when we started was the outside. So we started hiking a lot after if you would have asked me a year ago if I was an outdoorsy person, I would have been like, no. I mean, like, I was a Girl Scout like all of my life. I am in the military. Okay, cool. But like, that wouldn't be where I choose to go. And now I'm like researching like RVs and backpacks where we can, like, not with my kids, just with my husband, backpack out to a place and camp, because it really is, it like centers you again to be out and away, change of scenery. Because when this started in March, it was like, oh, it's warm, we got to get outside. Well, now we're getting back in that cycle. So we're looking at getting some cold weather gear so we can do this even on cold days, because that's going to be the stopping block. There is one thing called 1,000 hours outside a year or something like that, that I'm going to try to do. I guess I should print it out and count our hours from the last couple of days. It's already 2021. But to try to keep track of the hours that we spend outside, it's almost like a motivator for me, right? Like, the kids are like, can I go outside? And I'm like, oh, we got to get our hours in, right? So I'm really looking forward to that. We have done spa day, and we do it because hygiene is not an independent activity for a lot of kids with FASD. There needs to be a lot of help. And so instead of being like, come here, I'm going to do what I got to do for clipping your toenails and all that stuff, made it like a fun thing. I got the little foot bath, and we did it on the front porch. But it was fun, and it was something different to change up the routine. Another thing we did one day is we went out to eat, which we went and picked up food, and then we sat in the car and ate. And then our idea was that we were going to go get a DVD and watch a movie in the car, because we have like a little screen in the van, but nowhere sells DVDs anymore. You sound like an ancient person when you go and ask for a DVD at a place. So we had to drive to like a Best Buy to get a DVD. But we did, and we parked somewhere where we can see the city we live in really nicely, and we all sat in the back seat. My kids were buckled up the whole time, which I didn't notice until we got out. I was like, guys, we weren't going anywhere. But anyways, it was a change of pace, right? Like, it's like you're doing something. When you get stuck in the monotony, I think that makes it really hard. And I think that a lot of times for parents of kids with disabilities, so at the Change Starts Here Collaborative, we focus on supporting parents and professionals working with kids with neurodiversity, like ADHD, autism, FASD, PTSD, RAD, whatever, right? And so when you're parenting a kid who has those types of disabilities, you're like, we have to keep our routine. And then it's almost like you get stuck in that too. And so to balance out the fact that you guys, yes, you need routine and there needs to be structure, but these, off the cuff things, or if your kid needs a lot of prep, mine are better on the fly. But if your kid needs a lot of prep, saying a weekly activity is great, because they know this time, either this time we do the same thing every week, or this is the time that we do something fun and we're not always sure what it is. And that way they can kind of like mentally prepare versus you being like, no, our routine is to watch a movie on that night. So it didn't change it that much. It just changed the location. But those are different things that you can change up. And then also I like the walk being part of the daily routine. We should do that. We should do that at my house, because it's when you work at home and then you homeschool and then you never leave. There's no reason to leave ever. So,
Yeah.
And then coloring's fun.
Yeah.
These are all regulatory strategies for kids, which little hint, also regulatory strategies for adults. Yes. We forget we have to regulate ourselves. So that's why they're dual purpose beneficial, and why when you did your reel, I was like, yeah.
Some other ones that I really love too for that purpose are, and these, so my husband and I, we still are foster parents, but I'm 25 weeks pregnant right now, so we don't have any foster kids right now.
Did I know that? I don't think I knew that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't think I posted it on this feed. I probably should let people know that, but yeah, so when we had our little kids, we had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old brother and sister. And it was amazing that my little 2-year-old, like, he was able to learn how to take deep breaths so easily. Like, even little kids can start learning and picking up on some of these regulatory things, and you can make it part of bedtime routine that we, you know, there's lots of different ways to practice deep breathing with kids that are fun. With him, we would just show him, like, I would really exaggerate, like,
yeah.
And, you know, he would do it and mimic me. But so doing things like that, like taking deep breaths and kind of practicing that with your kids, doing that as either like part of your schedule or just setting aside intentional time to do that, it helps because it builds that skill. And so then when they have something come up where they need to use that, you've been practicing it all along. And when you do it with them, you're getting the benefit as well. And then I also love doing like little yoga with kids. And I think in my reel, I said, like, you're not going to be, like, I love doing yoga, and you kind of, it's quiet and it's, you know, very peaceful. And if you're doing it with your kids, it's probably not going to be quite that. You're not going to get the same kind of vibe or feeling that you would if you were doing it by yourself. But it's still good to move your body. It'll probably make you laugh to see how your kids try to do the poses. And so that's something fun. And you can find videos on YouTube. You can do kids yoga with them, or you can even just do a regular, you know, yoga for adults, and they can modify it and do it however they want to do it. But that's something fun too, to help them move their body and help you move your body too. And that's really, like, yoga I love in particular because it's focused on grounding yourself and breathing and mindfulness and like being aware of your body and what it's doing. So I like doing those.
Yeah, my friend Melissa posts videos of her doing it, and I'm like, oh, that looks, she does like time lapse, so it's like really fast, but I'm like, it still looks relaxing. And her kids are running around, whatever, she's doing her jam. We did cosmic yoga the other day, which is on YouTube, geared towards kids. And it's very like entertaining. I was not picturing it being as like magical and fantastical as it was. So that's a good option. Okay. Well, so I don't even know how you popped up. Instagram gives good recommendations. I don't know how I found you, but you are foster parent coaching. And so you have courses geared towards foster parents. Can you tell us what topics you have available right now?
So right now I have a feeding, so kind of feeding issues with kids in foster care. So I have a training that talks all about that and the different issues that you might find and some ways that you can try to help your kiddos. I have a trauma-informed care training, which is probably my favorite. So it just kind of helps you get an understanding of what's going on in your kiddos' brains. Especially like when they come into foster care, but even if you've adopted or are, you know, have been a foster parent for a long time, I think it would be helpful. So talking about that, it talks a lot about mindfulness and how to help your kids regulate. So some of the things we've been talking about. And then the other one I have is for if you're caring for infants who have been exposed to drugs in utero. And so it just talks about some things to be prepared for, common kind of struggles that they might have, and then some ways that you can help them feel safe and calm their bodies, and soothe them. And so those are the three that I currently have available, and hoping to come out with some more this year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's, I mean, trauma-informed care is so big for us, but it's kind of a newer thing. And I find a lot of adoptive parents who like adopted a while ago, or maybe did private adoption, they haven't had as much training. And then I've ran into a lot of biological parents who have kids who have, you know, they had an abusive partner, or they've been through divorce or whatever, and they're noticing the signs with their kids and they want to learn more about it too. So that's the jam. So yeah, that's great. I'm hoping more people will check that out. And then, you know, shameless plug, as a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder educator, 80% of women who use drugs during pregnancy also drink alcohol, obviously a much more easily obtainable drug. And so we also want to look at FASD and keep an eye out for the signs of FASD for any kid that was exposed to drugs. And the effects of alcohol do not wane over time, where the good news is that it is much more likely for the effects of drugs to fall off. Developmentally, kids catch up more often with drug exposure. So that's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm hoping people will connect with you, give you a follow, go check out your courses, tell other friends about your courses. And thank you for telling us how to self-care, because none of us are good at it.
We're not. Yeah, but it's very important. And I think I just want parents to know, like, you're not selfish for needing time for yourself. That's one of the most important things that you can do to take care of yourself, that will help you to show up differently as a parent, but also to give yourself just tons of grace and patience, because we're all trying to figure out what on earth we're doing. Parenting in and of itself is hard enough, and then you have 2020 and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I know. So
I posted a meme today that said pandemic parenting and self-care. I don't know what that means, because it seems so, but we've been doing this so long that we really need to figure it out, because it's not like ending tomorrow, right? And so so we really need to make sure that that's something, and we probably needed it all along, right? But like now here we are, and we're all cracking at the seams, so we got to figure it out. But yes, taking care of ourselves is important, and it's such a good thing to model for your kids, because my kids picture all the time that like their life as they have it today is how their adulthood will be, right? It's that easy. Like, listen, it only gets harder. Right. So for them to know, like, this is a thing that mom did and that was good is very helpful. All months on the Change Starts Here Collaborative, we are going to be focusing on resiliency in parenting. And so that looks like self-care, looks like getting therapy for yourself. It looks like talking about mommy wine culture. So stick around so you can listen to our other topics. And thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.